All right, other questions?
Really quick. So are we technically turning in 4 different files? There's the file where it's the front of the album, and then the record, and then there's also the one that's the back of it.
Yes, well, it technically is 4 different files, but we're going to combine them to one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to actually, I'll go through that today. I have that in my notes to go over this PDF. So we'll do that. Try to get to some InDesign today. Also, maybe a little bit of social media. So we'll try to get all that done. So let me real quick, I'm going to open up a file and save it. A couple ways we have that. I'm just looking for the ones that we have combined that did that. Okay, so we did. Let me just open this one up and I'll use this as our starting point today. Where's my thing? Hold on. Try this again. Hope I going to 3D and 3D didn't screw stuff up. So we have this open. Where is it? Wow, that's weird. Oh no, let me open another file. It's not supposed to do that, guys. Not supposed to do that. All right, I gotta quit Photoshop. Hold on. I got a feeling that by clicking that 3D thing, it just kind of whacked out things. So let me restart my Photoshop. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try to save that picture like 4 times that we have the front, back, front, back, front, back, and combine them into a PDF. So I want to show you how to do that. See, something with that 3D thing. So I'm going to save this as number 1. I'm just going to give them some weird numbers. I'm just going to do it as a JPEG because you'll see how this will actually work. And I'm just going to give it, call that 1. Now I'm going to come here. And I'm going to change some colors. I'm just saying the same. Only thing that's going to change is the backgrounds. That's 2. So imagine these are each of your files, front to back to front to back to front to back. 3, do one more. Almost there. Okay, so you've gone through and made your projects. Everything looks good. You put them in this file into the template. You save them all as JPEGs. And now what we're going to do is we're going to combine them all together. So if we look at that folder, we would see 1, 2, 3, 4 going on. So I want to open them up in Acrobat now. So what I'm going to be doing here, and this is Adobe Acrobat, and you can download this again from your Creative Cloud. And again, it's you're going to end up using it all day long. If you haven't, you probably already are. So it's a way that we can, do forms. We can make forms, and again, the way we can combine things. So what I'm going to do is combine them into a new file. So I'm going to do File, Create, and I'm going to combine files into a single PDF, because these were JPEGs. Remember, they weren't PDFs already. I didn't save them as PDFs, and that's perfectly fine. And I did them as JPEGs just so you can see that they don't need to be PDFs to start with. So it's saying just kind of add the files here. You can drag it in, or you can just kind of select them in. So I'm going to select them because I know they're here, number 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to add them, and it's going to bring them over. And now we have JPEGs 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can even move things around. We can just kind of drag things around if we want to. So know that that can be done. And also you'll see there's a little trash can that comes up. So if I put something in I don't want, I can delete it. Okay, and I can add more files if I want to. I can take away, and I can reorganize them. Okay, so right now we're just dealing with pictures. So we're taking literally 4 images, and we're going to combine them into one file, which is a PDF, and then we'll be able to submit that to me come next week. So once we've got them all here, we just hit combine, and it's now going through its process. It must be bigger than I thought. It's been a little slow here. All right. So it's all done now. So this is kind of a preview of what it's going to look like. So there's picture 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. And they're all together in one file. And then I'm just going to do a save as. It's going to, where do you want to put them? And right now I want to put them back in the class pics. So I can just click there, and then I can name it. We're going to put it 1 to 4 demo, so we know. And it's going to be saving as a PDF. Now you could do these other items here, but the problem is it won't be able to scan through them like we just did. Okay, so we just want to keep them as a PDF file and hit save. And that was it. Now it's done. And now you're able to turn that in. And if we go to the desktop, and let me just find the file here. It's under class pics. You can see here it is as a PDF. It's 7.2 megs, which is okay, compared to 191919. So 28. So basically 2 megs a piece. That would be it's a little smaller, but not dramatically smaller with that. But we can turn that in just by sending 1 file instead of 4. Okay, so that way I'm going to get it pretty easily. Now, the other thing I want to show you is you can make them even smaller. So right now they're pretty good resolution, and that's fine with that. But if we do reduce file size, okay, what it's going to do is kind of get rid of some additional pixels. Like this, the background is all green, so it knows it's all one color green. We can get rid of some pixels and kind of fill it in with some blank pixels. And I'm going to use the same one, and I'm going to call it, just call it demo 2, just so we can see a difference in the file size. And then bam, so it's reduced the file size. And this is something you want to think about if you're working with something that gets too big, or you're sending the email to a client and maybe they get a little weird about stuff being too large. So it went from basically 7 megs to 1 meg. And I want to show you the difference between the two. So 1.2 megs compared to 7.2. So I got rid of a lot of megs there, a lot of information. And I'm opening it back up. And here it is as the second version. And you'll notice there really is not much visual difference between them. If I zoom in, they'll start to get some pixelization. And right now, even at 100%, you can see it's pretty tight still. Okay, it really is holding up fairly decently. It's getting a little jaggedy. It spots here, but not so bad that you can't see it. And that's at 100%. And I probably would not even be looking at it this way if you sent it through an email. Okay, so if I was going to print this and print from the PDF commercially, I would not do this. Okay, I wouldn't scale it down or reduce the file size. But because I'm just emailing it to my teacher, that's perfectly fine. Does that make sense? So if you were sending it as a file that'd be sent over the internet, or something that's going to be up on some kind of, I don't know, government website, download the form type of thing, the reduced file size totally works fine. Okay, so 2 ways of doing it. Again, just kind of bringing them all together. Do file, save as, okay? And then the other is you can reduce the file size, and again, it will shrink them down. There are things you can put on here that I'm not going to get into right now, but just so you know, you can do password protection on files. You can make files that are signable, fill and sign. You can make files that will fill in the blank, all those kind of things. And we'll get to that. I'll get some forms or find a form that we can do this for later in the semester, kind of do a quick demo on some of the fuller capabilities of Acrobat or a PDF. Everybody just calls it PDF. Okay, so Adobe Acrobat is a pretty cool program, and again, it's especially a good way of doing things, turning it in. Last night I had to write a letter for somebody, and I did it in InDesign, saved it as a PDF, boom, sent it to them. They could read it. Okay, you know, they didn't have to open up anything else because everybody's got Acrobat Reader on their computers at this point, so it totally works well to be able to share and translate files. Okay, questions on that quick little Acrobat demo? That makes sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
You said it doesn't have to be like a JPEG or a PDF. It can be either or, right?
No, I would make it, combine them, make a PDF, all one.
Okay.
So basically we have all 4 of your files in one document. That way there's less chance of me losing it, or you not sending it, or something getting corrupted, etc.
Right. That makes
So,
sense.
yeah. Okay, other questions? All
I have a
right.
question.
Yes.
So we're gonna be putting the file of the front of the cover and the back into one PDF, and we're gonna be sending you that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So you'll basically do the front, and then imagine this is the back of the album, and then another front, and then another back, and you're going to combine all of those into one PDF. So you're going to make,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, take those 4 JPEGs that you saved from Photoshop, put them into Acrobat here. So it's just literally creating, okay, combining files into a single PDF.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then you just put those in. Okay. Again, if you have problems, try it. If you have problems, we have time to go through it. Don't worry. No worries on that. But I think this is an important little skill I think you guys should all have. I mean, you're going to use this not just for my class, but for other classes as you go. Teachers are going to have you submit stuff. And not just even here, maybe even, you know, English or whatever other class you're taking. You can save them as PDFs. Because I don't know if you're using Microsoft Word or who knows what you're using to type it up. I went to use Microsoft Word last night and it wouldn't even work for me. Still have it open here. Let's see. It was like, it doesn't work. It said it didn't work for me. It needed something. Yeah, I thought it was all good with the school, but apparently not. So I went back to my InDesign, which I know works. And we'll get into that. And you guys will enjoy that, I think, when we get to that. Other questions? All right, so let's close that out. We did that little demo. All right, so let's spend a couple minutes on Illustrator. It's kind of where we were the other day. We were working on stuff, and I'm gonna just close this off. Don't save. And I'm going to make a new document. Go to my inches, 8.5 by 11, CMYK, 300 raster, letter size, perfect. Print, same thing, right? I don't know why it's in it's different, but it's 8.5 by 11. Create, and we're here. All right, makes sense, everybody, so far? Getting it open, but not too difficult. So last class, we went through some of the boxes, right? We did the rectangle tool, the rounded tool, which is really the rectangle tool when you can grab the corners, the ellipse or circles, polygons, which is multi-sided, and the stars. So those are kind of the big ones that you go through. And then we have the direct or the select tool and the direct select tool. Okay. And these are the tools you're going to be using all the time, depending on what you're doing. So obviously we do here, hold the shift key and I can get a square. It's showing white on white, so it's not a big deal. So let me just change that color up to something that shows up. And I'm going to give it a little bit thicker stroke so we can see those as we work here on the screen. And using the direct select tool, I can move that around, obviously. I can scale, holding the shift will give me proportional. Shifting, just grabbing the corner will give me all kinds of weird shapes. Hold back the shift, it gives me back to where I was. Selecting the corners here, I can round them off. All right, so we can literally go from a square to a circle in this case. And with the direct select tool, I can select a particular point on the path, an anchor point, and I can pull those in. So I could even make like a triangle. Okay. Even another way of doing it is obviously we could go here to polygon, right? And click, just to click it. And I'm going to say it's going to be 3. And it made a triangle that way. Now, if I wanted a triangle out of this, meaning I wanted this kind of right triangle, I can come over here to the pen tool. And you'll see there's some things underneath the pen tool which says add a point, delete a point, or anchor point, which will convert it to a point with Bezier curves. So let me just kind of go through those, and we're going to get into the pen tool today, which is going to be like the other big tool. So right now, when I select this corner, it's just a corner. You don't see the Bezier handles come up because these are kind of anchor points. Now, if I click it with this anchor tool point and I click and drag, you see the Bezier handles come up. And therefore I can start to drag that out to be whatever shape I want. Okay, so that the handlebars have been created because I clicked on the corner with this kind of anchor point tool. Okay, and what it's doing is allowing me to convert that point from just a 90-degree point into kind of a point with a Bezier curve. Likewise here, there is no Bezier curves being made because it's a point. And you can see here, I could just kind of turn, click it and move that. And now I've got points onto that. So again, it's kind of ways that oftentimes we're building a shape and then we're going to reshape it after the fact. If I had drawn something like, draw a circle here. When I select the corner here, yes, see, it already comes up with the Bezier curves handles because it's a circle. All right, it's already a point that's working on the path here, and it knows that. Okay, so if I'm at a anchor point and there is none, if I go to a point like here, it's an anchor point also, but it's got built-in handles already, so I don't have to convert it over. Okay, now if I wanted to make this a right triangle, I got 3 points here, and I got some point out here, I can come under here and put delete anchor point. If I hit a delete anchor point, you kind of come over, and it says you've got to find the point to anchor it. So I'm going to click there, and I'm going to come with the anchor, and you see the negative on the pen tool. You click delete, and it took it away, and now I've got a 3 points in the anchor, and I've made a right triangle. Okay, so again, it's a way we can kind of work these things. Oftentimes we're adding and subtracting. So here I've got a circle, but let's say I want to make it a half a circle, right? Half the pi. Somebody ate half the pi. I'm going to come in here with the minus anchor point, click it away, and it took it down. Okay. Now it's not completely gone because remember there's a Bezier curves that are in here with these points. And I can literally just kind of drag that handle down and drag this handle down, and it gives me the half shape. Okay. So a lot of times, again, we're playing with shapes, we're moving things around, we're reorganizing them to come up with something new with it. Okay, so playing with the shapes and reorganizing them and twisting and turning, adding and taking away points is something that we would be doing on a pretty regular basis. Okay. Now with the pen tool, we can also add points back in or add points to it. Okay, so let's draw a square down here. And let's say I want to add in 2 points. I can simply come with the plus anchor point and just click along that path, and it added them in. And now with the direct select tool, I can put those points in, can move those around to create new and additional shapes. Okay, so I can constantly be adding points or taking away points or converting points. So right now you see they're just points. If I pull it, there's no curves, there's no Bezier handles and all like that. If I want to curve it, I come back to my anchor point tool, and I can click on that corner and drag, and you see it added in those Bezier curves and handles. Okay, so again, it's kind of a going back and forth to get some of the times the shape that you want. Another way of doing it, let me just kind of select this out of the way, is to use the pen tool itself. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to actually draw. So if I draw from here to here, it draws a stroke. And every time I click, it adds a stroke. And it's given a fill, because right now we have a fill of blue and a stroke of black. And I can just kind of click anywhere I want, and it just kind of makes corners and adds into a shape. Okay. If I click and drag, it makes Bezier curves. So if I click and drag with my mouse, click, drag, it does the Bezier curve. If I just click, it doesn't do the curve. Now remember, I can come back and convert that later, but it doesn't do a Bezier curve with it when I just click. If I click and drag, it gives me an anchor point with a curvature going on the Bezier curves. Okay, so as we're trying to do stuff, a lot of times we're hand drawing things, and we got to put them in. If you make a mistake and it's like, oh, I forgot to click or I forgot to drag, you can come back and convert that anchor point just by clicking on it with the anchor point tool. Okay, so you can convert that back later. And likewise, if you don't want that there, if you double click or click on the point itself, it turns it back into just a normal corner. So I can get rid of all of these Bezier curves by simply selecting the point that's already been converted. Okay. If I select it again and drag, I get the Bezier curve back again. Okay. So it's about reshaping items. Okay, with that. So the pen tool is literally how we draw. And this is similar we have in Photoshop, there's one. And then there's a curvature tool. Let me just, so you can see that light up here. Where I'm just drawing, it gives you a little bit smoother curves. So it's designed to kind of give you smooth organic curves here. So I click and drag to come around. Okay, so it's a little bit more organic than just kind of clicking with the pen tool. But not necessarily, it depends on what you're trying to do. Okay, and again, remember everything is kind of flexible as you go. And what you want to do ultimately is connect through the point. So right now, you don't want to leave a blank in here. You want to fill that to the edge so you have one completed shape. If you don't want a stroke on it, we can select that, go to properties, and turn the stroke off. We can go down to 1.25 or just take it down to 0 and see if there's no stroke there. It's just the fill. Okay. Likewise, we can do the opposite where we have a stroke with no fill. Okay, so you can see the stroke is there and there is no fill on it. It's empty in the middle. Okay, so we can switch it back either way. And we can always, again, come back here and add to it. We change the fill. I'll pick a color, pick like that. So now we have a fill with a stroke. And I can switch them out that way. Okay, so again, it's designed to kind of build, and it's a little bit different way of starting to think as you were to draw something. So it's kind of breaking things down, but those are going to be an animation stuff to get to. If you're a fine art painter, it's kind of like you got to start with something, right? Typically, you're starting with a blank canvas and you're going to build up on top of it. So this is something we do here, is kind of build up on top of it to get the look and feel that we're going to be doing from. Now, a lot of times we're going to work from reference. So it's a matter of looking at things and kind of breaking those down. So let me I'm going to open up a picture that we're going to use as a reference. So let's see here. We've got, what's a bird? These are all vectored already. I'm going to go back to our classroom pictures. And we'll do this. So we're going to make just kind of a sand dune, some kind of very abstracted sand dune. So I'm going to get this smaller. You can see it's quite a big file. And I'm just going to scale it down just because I just want to make it smaller, work it onto our 8.5 by 11 page. Oops. I'm zooming in. So right now, this is a photograph that's been brought in, and looks, it looks very smooth. It looks like a photograph. And I'm going to actually do a couple things here. I want to show you how you can convert this to a vector. And then I'm going to also show you how we can just kind of work on top of the trace. So I'm going to lock this layer and I'm going to build a new layer, and we're going to draw on the top layer. So I want to build the sand dune. And we're going to do a new layer. And I'm going to start with my pen tool. And I'm just going to kind of trace. And I'm just tracing along. I'm not worried about the points exactly. I'm giving it Bezier curves because I want to have those built in at this point. And I'm just kind of clicking and going. And right now we've got white on white, so I'm not showing much of anything. Click there, and I'm going to click back up here to complete my shape. Now I have a shape here. I want to get a sand dune color, so I'm going to go to my color here swatch. I did my picker, and I got that. And I don't want to stroke. I want to keep it like blank. I'm just going to go here, and again, I'm putting it over top, and I know it's not perfect, so I'm going to come back in here with my direct select tools, and I'll pull this handle down. So I know I don't want that bump. And I'm going to actually drop my opacity down. I'm just going to properties, and I'm going to drop it down to so I can see underneath. I want to see where my lines are going, see where I want it to be. So to come back with the direct select tool, and this handle needs to come down a little bit. And this one also, I'm just moving the point down a little bit. So I'm trying to kind of emulate and go along with that sand dune. So that's pretty good as the base. Now, there is another little shape here, this S. So I'm just going to come back with my pen tool, and I'm just going to kind of draw this S in. And it's giving me a fill, but I'm going to eventually turn this off. And I just want to have that as a point. And I'm going to switch that to here. I'm going to give it stroke a little bit darker color. And I'm going to give it a little bit of thickness. Okay, it's a little bumpy in there. So again, this is where you can come back through and go, well, maybe I don't need that. The less points, the less bumps. So I'm going to take out this one anchor point. Okay, and that gives me a pretty smooth, and I think I can get rid of this one. All right, and if I need to smooth it out a little more, I can kind of just stretch it out a little bit. Okay, put this here. And I'm just trying to kind of emulate this line on top of that. I'm going to pull that back up. Its opacity, let's see. Let's pull that down just a hair. Again, just using the arrows here. And what I'm just trying to do is just kind of goof off and make this sand dune. Okay, very abstract sand dune. Now, if I look at this line I drew, I don't want to fill, so I just want a line on it. But I don't like the corners. I don't like that it's got a square edge. Again, it could clean up a little bit here, but I just don't like this 90 degree. So if I go under stroke here on the properties, I get these things called the caps, so they're corners. Well, there's no corners here, but I do have a cap. And if I click on this, it will round them. Okay, so I'm just kind of easing that off a little bit with that. So it's basically rounded over the corners, so they're not flat, and these are just different places of where the point is, you can see. But I want to just kind of round it off. Now I can, at this point, come back and select it. And I can pull that point down a little bit because I just want it right about there. It's kind of on that edge. I can also play with things where I have, how does that go, right? Is it uniform? Here's kind of the shapes kind of pivots from thick to thin. There's kind of this weird thick to thin inside. There's a point there. So these are just kind of different ways that I can play with a stroke up here. Just kind of see it. And you have to kind of just look and see which one's going to work. Okay, and you can add to these if you want to. So this might be nice where I have a casually come in. It's like very smooth, and it kind of builds into it. And we'll just zoom that out. All right, so again, we're just trying to play with this drawing here. Again, we're working on a new layer, and we're not trying to get too detailed with it. I just wanted an abstraction. We can come back with a gradient, but I'm not going to do gradients here. I just want to kind of show you what you can do with the pen stroke. And then of course we want to do the background. Okay. And again, we're all in this layer 2. Layer 1 is simply the reference point that we're working from. So I'm just going to hit the rectangle tool here. And before I do that, let me just get my eyedropper, and we're going to pick our color out. And okay, so double click here. I want to get a blue tint going on. Oops. Do not want to be selecting that. All right, so now I'm going to draw a square. I'm just up here at the anchor, and I'm drawing. Now it's over top of the dune that I created. So at this point, I can come back to my layers, and I could see that this is what I drew, and it's above. So all I have to do is drag that down to put that below the dune. Okay, so it's a way of working within the layers. So with the sub layer is the background, and I'm just kind of doing that with it. So I'm just kind of put it on top. Now the dune's pretty good, but I'm like, there's a bump in here. I don't like this bump. Now I'm seeing it against the blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the points here, and I'm actually going to take away a point. I'm going to take this point away. So like, okay. And what I'm going to do is then take my Bezier curve. I'm going to round it up a little bit. I just want a nice, easy, round shape on top. Again, the less points, the smoother your transitions are. Okay, so you want to try to draw with as few points as possible to give you the look and feel that you want. And what we did was here, we just kind of, it's not the same, but it's an illustrative version of what we did of this sand dune. Now there's probably another dune down here. Let me do that one. I'm going to come back to this layer, and I'm going to just lighten it up a little bit just so I can see it below where that stroke would be. Where are we at? Ooh. Why is it not showing? Yeah. Okay, so now I've got another stroke. I'm going to turn off that other layer too. Hold on one sec. To get that point. Okay, so on that same layer, I'm going to draw it's a little bit of a curve there. We're going to go from one side to the other. And again, we used my pen tool to do that, because again, I just want a kind of an open path. I'm just coming along. I know it's not perfect yet. I don't want a there. I want to make a stroke of a brown. I'm going to go back to my palettes and work that in. Browns. And give it some thickness. Okay, we're just trying to emulate that, and then we're going to zoom in. I want to see how that edge is. I don't want that. I want that edge to kind of peel away. So I'm going to come back to my stroke here. And I'm going to kind of fade it out. We'll do that. We'll keep that nice and smooth. Pull this up a little bit. And check the other end. Again, we're just trying to do a visual of this. It's a very abstract thing that we're doing here. All right, so now me come back. I'm gonna pull my opacities up so I can cover those back up. And now we have our quote abstraction of the sand dune. I think I even dropped this one down. Is that right? No, it's good. Okay. Going on here. So that's kind of one way of doing it. And that's cool, right? We get something cool, we can get it working. I'm gonna show you another way of doing it. So now we have a picture and I'm on to what we call image trace. So this is what we're gonna do is take a bitmap image and convert it into vectors. Because remember, as a bitmap can only go so big and it's gonna at some point start to bitmap on me. See, it's getting fuzzy on that edge. As I zoom in, we're at 1600%. See, there's that's the pixel starting to show. So even though we're in Illustrator, we brought in a bitmap or pixel-based image to this file, and it's still going to be a pixel-based file. So we want to get rid of that, and we want it to become a vector. So there's a thing called image trace. And if you don't see it up here on the top, under window, it should be image trace right here. Down here is image trace. I have it already preset open. So I'm going to select that layer and it's going to tell me what do I want it to do. You also will get it up top here as a trace. So image trace. And I'm going to make the results. I'm going to do color. And I want to do, I'm going to do a high fidelity photo. So what this is going to do is take this image and convert it the best it can into a vector-based item. So let me start with a smaller one just so you can see. I'm gonna do 3 colors here and go okay. We'll undo this in a second. So it's converting this photo into a vector. It's basically drawing it in a vector format, or Illustrator is. And in this case, I told it to do 3 colors, so it's going to pick out the 3 dominant colors here and work it up. So that's what Illustrator thought was the 3 dominant colors. We have the silhouette here, and then there's kind of a transition into the sky. I'm going to Command Z undo that because that's not what we want. And then I'm going to come back here with my trace again. And I'm going to do a we'll do 16 color. Because again, I want to show you as it goes, the differences. So this one will come out a little bit better. So you can see here, we've got a lot better representation. Still a little bit stiff. And if we zoom in, we'll start to see there is no pixels or no blur, but what it does is it gets a little raggedy with the edges. Okay, so it's kind of interpreting all of those points into a color. So in this case, 16 colors. So not enough. Remember, pictures have millions of colors. So it took 1 million colors and put them into 16. So we still get this banding going on. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna do it one more time. I'm gonna do a high fidelity photo. And it's gonna be slow. Yeah, I know. Take your time. So it's drawing now, and you're gonna see a dramatic difference here with this one. So this is the way that I could take this picture, even though it's okay, but it's not a high resolution photo. And I could literally blow it up to be 100 foot tall if I wanted to. Boom. That is a vectorized photograph right now. And it looks pretty darn close to what the original photo looked like. Okay, and if I zoom in, you can see it's pretty good. There are still some of the transitions going on. But it did a very, very nice job of kind of putting it together. Now, what I have to do is I have to do up here what's called expand and make it a full vector that I can start to work with. And when I do expand here, this little button, you're going to see a bazillion points start to show up because those are all the points that the computer did. Okay, so all of these paths are made up of a bazillion little points that now make this thing a vector. And you can start to see all of them there. I start clicking on things, it just starts, there's like points everywhere. Okay. And then I need to expand the object or ungroup it. And then I can start to kind of work with it. You can see I'm literally selecting shapes within there. And they're all made up of little dots. It's crazy. Okay. And as I scroll over, you can kind of see that. So it's no longer just a couple of points. It's literally millions of points. I have no idea how many points. And if I look at, this is the layer, and I'm just going to scroll. Every one of these things is a little point on the screen. Okay, there's a little point somewhere on the screen. And if I click it over here on the side, you can kind of see where it is. And you can see they're jumping around to different points. And there, I don't know how to even know. There's literally tens of thousands of paths. There's thousands in there. Okay. And every one of these is a path that can be changed. Okay. And it's cool, again, if you have the time and the patience. So let's say I want this guy really detailed, but I want to make some changes. You can literally come in here and pick and change things and change colors of things. Like right here is a big spot of the sand dune. If I didn't want it to be orange, I could change it to be pink. Okay, so you can go in and literally it becomes an editable photo, but it's all vector based since it's been image traced. Okay, and again, it is made up of pixels now, not of, made up of vectors now, not pixels. Okay, so it's completely editable and I can completely work with it. So it's a way that we kind of do things. Now again, it looks different than if I had done it with 6 colors or I drew over it myself. In many ways, it's kind of counterproductive. If I wanted a photo, I'll keep a photo. But again, if I have a need to make something very big or very large, vectorizing that photo is a valid way of working to allow you to be able to expand and change it. And I'm just going to go over it all again, select it. I'm going to group it. And as you can see, I can now scale it up or down to whatever I want it to be. Okay, and it stays resolution independent, meaning whether it's big or small, it still will look the same. Okay, it just takes longer for the computer to think as we get bigger and bigger with it. Okay. Okay. So image trace, in order to take a pixel-based image, convert it into a vector-based image. And again, oftentimes we'll do that as a way to start working, or a way to kind of start to get a general idea of how do we want to break this picture down into our own way. And again, we did here with a lot of full photo version, but if we do it again, or we do it with another image resolution, it will make a difference. Okay, so we'll just open that up. Oops. So select the object, go to image trace, and these are typical, the defaults. You can go over here to make finesses to that, but low fidelity photo, it's going to kind of convert it, but it's going to keep kind of that Illustrator look that many times you want once you create things here. Okay, so that kind of bold, crisp, solid kind of look. So that's an Illustrator kind of feel. And again, I could draw this, I could draw these shapes in individually, but many times I want to just kind of use photo or use Illustrator to get me going. And then I can maybe come back in and redraw on top to break it down the way I want. Maybe I don't want this kind of banding here. I can always come back in and pick those kind of things away, or I can change the colors. It's a pretty bold shape. It's not that difficult. Once it's expanded to kind of pick this color and select here and then come back and pick that color again. So now it looks like it's all one. Okay, so I'm just kind of changing as I go, getting rid of that darker element. We'll keep the medium. I want to give it that medium shade. Likewise, I want this to be a medium shade. I'm just kind of quickly coming through and making modifications to it. This I see looks like it got traced wrong. Again, it's because of the way the lighting was. I know the ice doesn't have a cut in it like that. So I can come back in here and maybe take away some points. That's going to be, instead of drawing them or moving these points, like, oops, instead of just kind of moving each point like that, I'm just going to delete points. It's going to be a lot quicker. So delete anchors. And as I start to delete them, it will fill that gap in. Okay, so it's much better up there. And then I can kind of play with these curves, get them the way I want. Move the handles around. Okay, so I can get this to look more natural because I know that's how it really was. Okay. So again, I'm starting with something the computer did, and then I'm going to come back in and do modifications on top of that to work my thing. And once I'm happy with it, I typically group them all together. That way, if I select one element, it's kind of together. It makes it easier to move around on your projects. And also when you look at your layers, it becomes one group. It's not, I'm not looking at 50,000 little points. I just have one group that I can turn on or turn off depending on what I'm doing here with that. Okay, so that's using the pen tool to draw shapes, plus and minus to select or take away anchor points, and then using the anchor point tool to convert from a segment to a Bezier curvature point. Okay, and we're using the select or the direct select tools to do that on that. Questions on that so far? That makes sense? With the image trace? Yes?
It looks fairly fairly okay. When you're tracing like an image that doesn't have as many defines, like, oh, okay, I see. I was gonna say, like, you know how like the iceberg, it's got like sharp points, so it's kind of easier. Is there like a trick to doing images that are like really soft, like how that desert is? Or
I'm sorry, say that again. It's getting a little blurry there.
uh,
What are you saying?
1 second, let me see if I can
It's
fix
okay.
my mic actually. So like, you know how the icebergs are like really jagged, so you can kind of see where like the points are very easily. Is there a trick to like sort of identifying where the points are, like in the water? Like if you wanted to try to find shapes in there?
You just kind of have to go over them. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You can do some modifications up here with the smoothing of the path. So let me let me just close this up. Don't save. I'm gonna open the iceberg again, and I'll show you with that. Okay, so I'm selecting here, and I'm on right now saying black and white, but I'm going to do the tracing. We'll do default to 16 colors. Okay, so it's doing 16. I can change the numbers here, and I can also go to advanced and tell it how many paths I want or corners. So I can kind of limit the edges a little bit.
Okay.
So there are ways to finesse it with your drawings. So if I do this, it's going to have more paths. This way I'll have less paths. So I will do that. I'm going to put, we're just going to pull that down half. I'm going to leave the noises, the corners will overlap just there. And then I'm do a preview. Let's see what it does. Sometimes the previews work. Sometimes it gets all buggy. Okay, so it basically got rid of points. And I'm going to pull this up the other way so you can see how the pass will give it more pass. It doesn't show that much difference there. Okay. It's not really big, showing as much as it is. These are the advanced settings, as it says. You can also go through and select colors. So if you want this to be instead of a cool tones into a warm tone, you can kind of select that. It's a gray tone. Let me just do. So I made it black and white. It's kind of like a tracing thing. I mean, move this out of the way. All right. So again, it doesn't work, but it kind of does stuff, right? It might give you something that you want. It all depends on your presets. And
Okay.
like I said, it's worth doing it because sometimes it works out really nice. You're like, dude, it did half my work for me. And now I don't need to do anything, or I just have to come back and tweak it out. I'll show you an example of that too nicely. Let me just download a logo. Let me go to Safari real quick. That one. Let's say I want to draw a horse. So I'm doing this, and I'm gonna let this come up. Computer's being slow. I'm gonna hit vector and see what vectors come up. Oh my God, it's being slow. Wow. All right. This is not working. Let me see what I have here. Give me 1 second. So I'll sometimes use this as kind of a starting point. And let me just find something here. I'm going to open this up. Oops. Now I don't own this image. This belongs to Getty Images. Okay. But I kind of like it. I might want to work with it and do my own variation of it. So this is kind of where I would come in and do a live trace of it. It's not a vector. It was, if I bought this, it would be a vector, but I just want to kind of do a trace of it and work from it. So this is where I'm going to go. I just want the silhouette. I want to see if the silhouette will work. See, it did pretty good. All I want is the silhouette. I'm not worried about these spaces here, and I can take off. All right, I can get rid of that. So I'm just going to expand it. So now it's a object. I'm going to ungroup it so they're not, the pixels aren't defined together. And what I'm going to do is now come in and get rid of the stuff I don't want. Like I don't want her eyes. Just going to hit delete. Get there, get that point. Delete and delete. So I'm just taking off those things that I don't want. And then it gives me a kind of a base to start from. Because again, I just want a silhouette of the statue. Now it's not perfect. I know there's some like points I'm going to come in there and clean it up, but at least proportionally, I don't have to redraw the whole thing. I'm just starting with my own version of it, or their version, and bringing it together. And we'll just get rid of those down there. Now this, I want to get rid of this altogether. So I'm just going to come in with the delete anchor point, take that away, and I'm going to pull that in. Let's see what I got going on. So I still need to get rid of a couple points in there. Like that. And I think that's pretty good to start with. So now I have that kind of thing that I can start to build upon if I wanted to make this kind of like just a silhouette going on. I don't know what the heck that is there. Okay, so maybe I'm going to put this on a t-shirt, and I just want the silhouette of the crown, and then I'm going to, put in some words that says, liberty. Okay, not good type choice here, but boom. And I want that to be here. Okay, and then I can change the color to be what I want. We're at a gray preview here. Okay, so I can switch this all out to be kind of what I want going on. And I clicked it to grayscale when I did it. So I have to convert this back, but we'll get to that. Color picker, boom. Okay. All right, so the image trace is a good way to kind of start you off. Like I said, many times I'm using it as kind of a base point to kind of start into something and to see where it goes. It also is a way to help me visually see how would that look if I broke it down into kind of more of a vector-based design. Because sometimes it's hard to look at a photograph and figure out the interpretation of, how would that look broken down. Like here, I can see very simple form, but looking at something that's been broken down is a lot different than looking at that. Okay, and again, this is one of my photos, and then I could just do a trace because I want to get the handle, but I don't want the background. I'm just going to do a quick shades. Let me do a silhouette again. Let's see what this. Oh, see, that didn't work. So now I have to kind of do it line art. That did not work. So if it doesn't work, you just hit Command Z and go back to something else that you think would work. That's close, but there's some weird stuff going on down there. See, the gray might work. Okay, that's better, right? It's a lot better, but I want to get rid of all of that. Expand it, ungroup it. And I can literally come back here and just start to delete those out. I'm just dragging over and deleting. Get rid of those things I don't want. Okay, so again, it's a way of starting with, in this case, the image trace and coming back over and get rid of the parts that I don't want. And then I'll be able to work, go back in and work the ones I do want. Okay, and change the color or whatever I need to do to get that going. So it's kind of like using like the mask tool to hide things. In this case, I'm using the mask tool. You see, even here, it got a little weird. When I hit delete, I deleted part of the statue, so I would have to probably be a little bit more careful with that, or I can come back and redraw that in if I need to. Okay, but it was that image trace allowed me to start and get something that I could start to work with pretty quickly, and then come back in and now clean it up and work it the way I want, instead of just starting from scratch, trying to draw it from scratch. Okay. Questions?
I don't really have a question about this in particular, but I did want to ask about something you said in a previous like in our last meeting, that we were gonna discuss the current state of our projects.
Yes. We're going to do that now. I'm going to hold on the social because I don't want to keep you guys till midnight. So let's real quick now. Those that have work they want to show me, I'm going to get out of my share, and then you guys can request to share, and I will let you share. Does that make sense? Just open up your file. You can share your screen, and we will take a look at it. This should work.
Okay. I will.
And let's see. I think you have to start the video first, and then you can share.
It also says that the host has disabled participant screening.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. Can start sharing. I'm opening it up for everything. All right, try it now.
Okay.
There we go. Cool. Oh, the Ramones, nice.
The biggest issue I had was that I couldn't separate the top part where it says the Ramones from the symbol underneath it. I think this is one of the things I'm going to try to redo within like over the weekend.
Okay, so you're
because I
trying to
wanna
get you're trying to get the like the drum set and the
No, I'm
word?
trying to separate the word Ramones from the symbol they have, because normally they have their name, a line, and then whatever the album's called.
Okay. So
I
would say I would make that a new layer in Photoshop, and then you can literally mask out the part you don't want.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you have the center seal. Just kind of, you can use the masking tool, just create a mask and just kind of paint out the word Ramones. You should be able to do that. You make a duplicate of it, or you can even erase it for that matter. If there's so much separation there that if you have a separate layer, you can literally with the eraser tool just kind of erase the word Ramones, and then you'll still have the center seal. And vice versa, if you want the word Ramones and not the center seal, erase the center seal. Just do it as a new layer.
All right.
That's cool. That looks nice.
All right. Thank you. Okay. I guess that's it for this one, because I'm still working on the other one. It's going to be Earth, Wind, and Fire. I haven't
Oh,
gotten
cool.
much in regards to that, so I'm gonna keep working on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, that's perfect, guys. This is exactly what we're looking for. So he's got the front, he's gonna make some modifications. He'll do the back and just kind of save that again also. And then he's working on the second one. So awesome. Nice. Anybody else want to do a share?
Sure.
Okay. Nice.
How's that? I kind of want to, for the most part, it feels really empty, like here on the left and right side. So I might add something in there. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do something simple and something spooky for like Halloween.
Cool. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
The one thing I guess I had on the back side is like, I don't really know how the back of an album cover looks. So
That's
like,
that's fine. That's it. You
Okay.
got side one, side two, and you got the list of the tracks. That's it. That looks
Okay.
perfectly fine. Now, things you
Alright.
might do is like the words, all rights reserved. You can make that smaller. You know, it doesn't need to be the same size as like the soundtracks or the list of the music. Even from a hierarchy standpoint, I would make like the album name or the songs, we'll just say 14 point, and then now from the album and the singer's names maybe 12 point, and then come down to all rights reserved and make that 10 point type of thing. I don't know,
Okay.
using numbers, but there's like bigger and smaller. This kind of creates emphasis. So we're not looking at everything. We're going to look at what you want. The bigger the typeface, the more we look at it. Now, again, it looks pretty good right now, so I wouldn't make it too much smaller, at least for the list of the names of the songs, the song list. But I think, you know, the artist names and even definitely the copyright could go smaller.
Okay, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Nice.
Well, thank you. How do I stop this? Oh, there it is.
Cool. Anybody else? That's good. All right, so everybody sees what we're going to do. So Monday, those that haven't gone, we're just going to we'll do a quick share and we'll just take a quick look at. Those are looking good. Again, I just want to give you a little feedback just to keep it going. And again, if you have questions on that, you know, let me know and we can definitely go over those kind of things. Okay. So we did a little Illustrator today. We did a little bit of this. I'm just looking at my notes. Went over PDF. I'll look up the perspective stuff so I can give it to you guys. Hopefully Monday. We'll do the social media, I think Monday. I got Monday's video uploaded to YouTube, but I have to put it onto the website. So that's coming. And let me just check, make sure I get everybody's attendance today. They come in late since we started. I think I got everybody. All right. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
For the little barcode thing that goes in the back of the cover,
Mhm.
does it have to be real or can it be a random?
Just random, just download. Just go
Oh,
to
okay.
Google and go UPC or barcode, and you'll get
Oh.
it. Get one, and you can just save that and drop that on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's just to make it look right, right? I mean, when you start to look at these files and you see the barcode, like, oh, it must be real. It's got real. It's got a barcode on it. So we're trying to simulate it being real. That's why we put the copyright and all that kind of stuff on there. We're trying to fool the eye. And what we want is when you show this to somebody, if you had this in a portfolio or something down the line, they think it's real. So they're looking at the art and the design. They're not like, oh, it must be fake because there's no barcode. So it's just kind of a way to psych people out. Cool. Other questions?
No, seems pretty set. All right.
So for the weekend, obviously work on the albums. We'll take a look at those on Monday. And, so again, just have them kind of ready that we can share files or share screens. That seemed to work. And start working with Illustrator. Again, we're going to get more into it. I just want you to start to kind of goof off with it and get a feel for it. We will get more into it, and we'll get project based with it soon, where we're doing a logo and stuff like that. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense to you. Okay, but I want you to just kind of work with it, and then we'll get into more special things that it does. But that'll come. Okay, I don't want to overburden it all at once here. Okay. Anything else for today? All right, guys, have a good weekend. Supposed to be kind of nice, not too hot. Might be nice just to get out and chill for a little bit. And we will talk again on Monday. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you then. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Take
Okay.
care.